so many people in the present day and age have that many misconceptions and presumptions about people that live in vehicles is just wow. Because some of us, actually a lot of us, are not just some jobless, uneducated, smelly losers that are non-contributing members of society. On the contrary, we are self-sufficient, intelligent, and brave, and we're just determined to live life on our own terms. By going over the stigma that is applied to the mass majority of van dwellers, car dwellers, RVers, etc. Some of the first few things that people automatically assume is that we are uneducated, we don't have a job, and when it comes to money, it kind of goes on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Some people would assume that we have trust funds, and then other people assume that we are completely poor and have no money. And so when it comes to education, I think it's kind of 50-50. A lot of people who live this lifestyle have college degrees and are fairly well educated, and most of us have jobs, especially if living in a vehicle is a choice, which is what this whole thing is about. Then yeah, I mean, a job is kind of necessary. We don't intend on living in vehicles to just kind of bum around. We do it as a means to do something else. It's either because we like to live small, we like to travel all the time, we just want a way to save money quickly. You know, there's different reasons for doing it, but all in all, typically most people have jobs. It's really like we work for our money the same way that everybody else does. The only difference is where we live. And by living in a car, it's also often assumed that, you know, the person doing it has to be unattractive. They have to have bad teeth. There's just no way that they could possibly take care of themselves. And also that we cannot have nice things. So again, as I said earlier, the only real difference between people who choose to live this way and the average person living in a house is that we live in a smaller space and it has wheels. That doesn't change how we feel about our appearance or the standard that we hold ourselves to, and so we can still look professional and just like an average member of society and blend in. You know, we still look presentable. And then on the topic of us not being able to have nice things, I think if anything it's a little bit more essential for us to have, in terms of like outdoor gear especially, nice things, because we don't have like climate controlled environments, so having a special sleeping bag or a very warm jacket, those things cost a little bit more, but they are investments that are just necessary when you live this kind of a lifestyle. And since we have such limited space in where we live, we tend to not buy unnecessary items, so that in that way we're able to save a lot of money to purchase these high quality items that are very efficient and that are built to last. Some more presumed opinions about this lifestyle are that we can never have help from any sort of outside source, and once you live in a vehicle, you're pretty much never allowed to set foot in a house again, and that all of us travel all of the time. The idea that we can't have help, when it comes to vehicle dwelling, that's actually quite the opposite. It kind of provides for a community that is really supportive of one another, and there's help everywhere that you look. And if you don't know something, it's very easy to get in touch with somebody that does, and that is more than willing to give you like a helping hand. So definitely I would say that that is, you know, not very valid. And I'm not quite sure where the notion comes from that once you move into a vehicle that you aren't ever going to really be in a house ever again. I know a lot of people that live in their cars or maybe live in a van that is not the most comfortable, so they will do a lot of couch surfing, so they end up in a variety of houses all of the time. What it really comes down to is that at the end of the day, the place that you call home is your vehicle. And oftentimes people who do have a legit setup and have lived in their vans or RVs for quite a while, if they're even offered a couch, they typically don't even want to stay the night at someone's house because they're so used to living in their van. Then, in terms of the lifestyle, there are a lot of people that live in vehicles and travel pretty consistently, but then there are also people that live in vehicles and just stay in one place because they do still have regular 9-to-5 jobs where they've got to be at the office, or they've got family, or really what it is they're just living in a vehicle but in one stationary location. So not everyone who lives in a vehicle travels all of the time. Another two things in reference to the stereotypes or stigma is that living in a vehicle has to be super complicated, and if you can't imagine it, that it must be impossible. So a lot of people, I can totally understand that from the outside looking in, are wondering how we shower, where we sleep, what we eat, how we go to the bathroom, and just because you can't necessarily come up with answers on your own about it, it doesn't mean it's impossible. There are ways to go about doing these things because tons of people do them, and there's actually quite a variety of different ways to do these things. And so it's not even anything that's really complicated. It's more about your personal situation and your personal preferences, and once you get into a routine that really works for you, these are actually some of the things that are the easiest to handle while maintaining this lifestyle. And the last one I want to mention is often directed at the younger generation, and that would be that it's believed we have no plans for the future. This is completely just a phase, and eventually we're going to run out of money and then just end up miserable. Honestly, making the choice to live in a vehicle should not and does not reflect on our capabilities of logical thinking. And for me, for instance, I do see this as a phase. I see this as like a new lifestyle that I'm trying out, and as of right now I'm really enjoying it. But when the time comes that it doesn't suit me anymore, I'll just make a change and I will try something different. Just because you're living one way doesn't mean you have to live that way forever. Lifestyles are malleable, and you're able to try all these different things to find out what works best for you. And the money aspect, the same way that you live in a house and think that saving money for retirement or for the future is a good idea, I live in a vehicle and think that saving money for retirement and for the future is a good idea. Living in a vehicle doesn't equate to not saving money, by no means. If anything, I'm able to save a lot of money even faster because I'm not paying rent or like an HOA fee or anything like that. And then there are the gender specific assumptions, which I'm not going to go into too much detail on because they're kind of like But anyways, one of the common misconceptions is that a woman that is traveling alone or even just living in a vehicle alone is more susceptible for harm to come her way in a variety of ways. I think that the media and society kind of portray this very big, bad, and scary image of the world, and although those things do occur and they occur way too often, the overall thing is that like people are nice, people are good, and you just have to learn to follow your gut and your instincts and be careful. That I'm not saying if you do that nothing will ever happen to you, because anything could happen, and you just hope for the best and you try your best to make sure it doesn't. But all I'm saying is that I do not believe that living in a vehicle or traveling by yourself is going to put you in harm's way more than you would be anywhere else. And I know that a lot of people might disagree with that, and I totally respect that, but I purely believe that as long as you equip yourself with education, weapons, know the proper precautions, and are careful, then that's really the best you can do. I don't think that being afraid of these things happening and allowing those to control you and keep you in one place and keep you from doing what you want, I just don't think that's the right way to live your life. Another gender specific one is, why would a woman choose this lifestyle when she could easily find a rich guy to take care of her? I don't know, there's a lot of things that could be said about that topic, but basically I'm just going to leave it at I don't think that that's an appropriate assumption to be put on women who live in vehicles or that travel by themselves. And the last in this category would be that a woman cannot live this lifestyle by herself. But she can. And if she does, more power to her. Anyways, by saying all of that, I'm not knocking any other lifestyle or even implying that vehicle dwellers are just like the bee's knees in comparison to anybody else. And I'm also not promoting that living in a car is the best thing ever, because quite frankly, for a lot of people, it's not or won't be. It takes a certain kind of person to really fully embrace the lifestyle and to enjoy it. And even then, it's still not easy. But by being the type of person who enjoys it, or by being the type of person who doesn't, it doesn't make you any less or any better. The only point I'm ever trying to drive home is that you should be happy. And if you're happy, I'm happy for you. And to be honest, that is what this world needs a little bit more of.